Hi there, I'm Robert Grigore. I am the founder of Grigore Counselling Associates, and I'm the clinical director. I'm also a registered clinical counselor, a certified EMDR therapist, and approved EMDR consultant with the EMDR International Association, or EMDRIA. I work with individuals 21 years and older, and also couples, and I work with just about everything you can think of: anxiety, depression, PTSD, complex PTSD, obviously relationship challenges, OCD, panic disorder, sleep difficulties, chronic pain, illnesses. Pretty much do everything except working with children. I wanted to tell you a little bit about me so you can get a sense of who I am. I always knew I wanted to help people, but I didn't know I wanted to be a therapist right off the bat. I actually stumbled my way with school. I didn't even major in psychology to begin with. I first wanted to be work in the marketing industry, and thought I wanted to be an artist. And I ended up falling into psychology through philosophy. I found existentialism, and then I minored in psychology and I started to really like that. And I ended up following psychology into my master's, and the rest of that is history. But that's more my path into a therapy. But I found EMDR after I became a therapist. So in my practicum with my master's, I started working with BC male survivors in a society called the BC Society for Male Survivors of Sexual Abuse. So I tend to think of that as diving into the deep end of therapy, working with very delicate trauma, with a population that is not always as open about what happened to them. Regardless, I started to do that as a talk therapist because I thought that's exactly what you do. And that's didn't really work out too well. I worked there for a few years, and I found that we were just going around in circles. So it was good in the sense that my clients knew that they had a safe place to talk about what's going on for them, and they trusted me, and we had a good rapport and all of that. But just listening wasn't enough. They needed something else. And so then I remembered in my master's this thing called EMDR, and I didn't really know what it was. I just thought it was you tell the same story a whole bunch of times over, and then which is not what it is. Anyway, so I remember EMDR. I wrote it in the margins of my one of my pages in my notebook. So I went for a training. I thought it was absolutely ludicrous, to be very honest. I thought it was a total joke. I thought there's no way that you could sit there and do this in front of somebody and then they're going to be okay. I thought, come on. So I actually almost left, and I thought at lunchtime I was gonna pack my stuff up to leave, and I thought, Robert, you paid thousands of dollars for this training, and you need the credits anyway, so you might as well just stay with it and do it. So that I did it, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my practice. But EMDR isn't, this is more of my professional path, and I wanted to share and go a little deeper with you and tell you a little bit of the stuff that I've struggled with personally, because I think it's important that that I'm more than just a professional. I'm more than just my degrees and certifications, more than just a founder of this. I've been a human, and as a human I've struggled, and I went through a bunch of stuff, and it wasn't always easy. So I'll kind of condense it for you, but I struggled with anxiety, depression, and PTSD, though I didn't know anything about those things as a kid. That's what I was struggling with. I come from a family where emotions weren't always discussed. It was more like finding distractions. I was an artist. I colored and painted and stuff like that, and that's how I was dealing with my emotions. And then later I found music to deal, to kind of cope. But I also coped with eating, and video games, pornography. I basically did everything, so I started that way, and then I went into sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So that's really what happened. I struggled with alcohol, drugs, sex, all kinds of addictions. And it was really to fill this big hole inside that I felt that I was actually worthless. I was an overweight kid growing up, and I carried that body image issues and stress about my weight, right up until, later in my life. And I always, for a long, long time, felt worthless. I didn't really know why. I couldn't really articulate what that was. But I had a breakthrough moment during a domestic violence relationship. I was in two of them. And as the victim, I'll say. And what happened was, more or less, there was a big fight that I had with a partner of mine. I won't share too many details because I don't want to trigger you, but I realized after a big fight that I deserved more than that. And that was my first inkling of my worth. Then I went to therapy. I went to talk therapy for several years, 3 or 4 years in talk therapy. And I did this. After talk therapy he was a great therapist, really, really good. Saw several of them. But right after my therapy was done, I went straight to the bar and started drinking. And I didn't realize at the time that what was happening was sessions were activating my nervous system so much, but I had no way of actually de-escalating that. And I used alcohol to bring it down. And it was only after I started working, for many years as an EMDR therapist that I really understood what was happening in my nervous system, and also ultimately what's happening in my clients' nervous systems. So what that means for you is that there is always a path forward. Whatever is happening for you is completely normal. Your nervous system, everybody's nervous system has sort of a bell curve of what's happening, right? We start off in, present and grounded. This is the Polyvagal Theory, in case you're curious. You can look it up, Stephen Porges. So there's a sort of a baseline green zone, if you will. And, this is your present, grounded, relaxed, everything's fine. I can handle it. I've got, a community around me. And then once you start to feel more stressed, now you're into your fight or flight. This is what most people know about in terms of dealing with stress. You've got your fight or flight. This is your worry, your panic, and then your anger, your rage. And then from there, this is the sort of like, I can deal with it in some way. And then if you can't deal with it, now you're into your red zone. This is your overwhelm, your shutdown, your dissociation, your depression, your all of that stuff's right up there. And this is your freeze zone. This is your shutdown. And this is complete overwhelm. And this is when you have to do whatever you can to feel better. And so some people, that's your alcohol, your drug use, your shopping, whatever it is, bring it down. And then you're back into this zone of handling it. But of course, that doesn't really work all the time. And, it tends to create bigger problems than what you started with. So, but what I want you to know is that there is always a reason as to what's going on for you, but that's not your job. Your job is not to figure out what's going on with you. Your job is to allow your nervous system to change. So what we've discovered is that insights don't actually lead to change. You have to actually activate what's going on for you and then change it. Your nervous system has to change, and then patterns change. So just having an awareness is not enough to create change. Change has to actually happen from a nervous system perspective, and then you will change your patterns. Okay, so what else do you need to know about me? As a therapist, I am very personable, but I'm also very directive, and it's a process. My goal is always you're here, all of us are here for as long as you need us, but our goal is to get you there as fast as possible. Because I can probably say that we've all struggled. I don't think anybody escapes childhood unscathed. And it's important that you know that there is a pathway forward. EMDR is that pathway. That I'm very much a believer in EMDR. That's why we do EMDR here. And we've discovered ways of pulling certain levers that we can make the results happen faster for certain people. So If you're at all curious, please go ahead and reach out, book a consultation, and we'll talk about what your options are and whether EMDR can help you or not. So I really appreciate you watching this video, and I hope you have a great day.